Hey, everybody. Today we're talking about a really hot, important topic. If your journey with account based marketing has not gone as easily as you'd like, and you're starting to rethink it and you're going, is there something better? Then you need to join us today for Growing Happily, whether it's ABM or ABX or anything in between. We're going to get to the kernel of it and talk about account based marketing in the age of AI. Hey, everybody. It is Nico Bernie Miller. I am the CEO of Change 3. And on today's session of Growing Happily, I am joined by none other than Eli Greenstein from Zoom Info. Hey, Eli. How are you, honey?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me today.
Yes, thank you so much. So today's topic is just so near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure near and dear to yours. Account-based marketing. Oh my gosh. So I consider you guys to probably be like the top experts in this space. Is that a false claim, dear?
We like to think we're the top experts, but we definitely have some competition that's up there with us.
For sure. So whoever's joining us today, thank you for joining. Grab your drink, get a seat, get comfortable, snuggle in. We're streaming live on all platforms and we've got our VIP webinar experience. If you're new to Growing Happily and you're watching us on one of the streams, if you'd like to be in the VIP session where you can ask questions during and after the live stream portion, please hit change3e.com, sign up to join in. We'll invite you to our growing series. There's a whole bunch of events that we have. The next one, I believe, is on the case for getting a business attorney before you actually need one, baby, and you really do. But let's back to today's topic. So we're going to talk about account-based marketing. So what is it? If you're new to this and you're like, I don't know, if you sell to businesses, and you've got a sales team, or even if you don't have a sales team, there's probably a universe of companies that you really want to do a great job of marketing and selling to. Account based marketing is the philosophy, it's the strategy, it's the methodology of defining a really well known universe of companies that are a perfect fit for your solution and services or products that you're going to really get to know everything you can about so you can be hyper personal, hyper relevant, and hyper everywhere that they are. There aren't a lot of companies that can empower your journey with account based marketing with an integrated suite of tools. But I would say, from my experience of working with a whole bunch, Zoom Info is probably one of the very best, from the data to the AI powered tools to the tracking to the analytics. I mean, everything. These guys are really, really killing it.
We try.
So, what we're going to talk about today is three things. The first one is, why is it so freaking hard? Some of you might be like, hey, I'm an expert at this and my stuff is all together. But there are some bits that make it harder, which is a lot of times the disconnect between sales and marketing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The second question we're going to talk about is, okay, there's a whole bunch of AI tools. There's like Microsoft Copilot, Gemini from Google. There's all this Chat GPT. There's all kind of stuff. So do I even need a tool or a stack of intelligence like I might get from Zoom Info? Do I need it? Well, that's somebody's opinion. So we're going to talk about that. And then the last one is, well, what kind of results can I expect if I do less, right? Less is more in the world of account-based marketing. So if I really hyper focus, what can I expect? All right. So let's start. Why is it so hard, Eli, to really do ABM or ABX? What do they call it? Why is it so hard these days?
I would argue that most businesses, although they know the product they want to sell, they don't know who to sell it to. A lot of
You're so
businesses
right.
start selling without having a process in place, without understanding who their total addressable market is, who their sales addressable market is, and they think that just getting their name out there is really going to drive results. But ultimately, if we're not prescriptive in doing account-based marketing or ABX type marketing, we might not see the results that we want.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. It's that me first, right? It's the narcissistic vision of how do you go to market.
And I get it. Listen, if I start a company and I want to sell my product, I have to pay off my investors or whoever's backing the business. The first thing I'm going to want to do is sell, sell, sell. But if we don't have a process in place where our revenue operations is set in stone, where our sales and marketing is tied together, we're likely not going to achieve the results that we need to achieve.
Absolutely, because you're going to get diminishing returns, right?
Exactly. You're going to spend a lot. You're probably going to make some money, but you're likely going to plateau because you don't have the scalability in place because you jumped the gun without the approach.
I love it. So let's talk about two types of companies. Smaller companies that, kind of jump the gun. Because, the smaller you are, the more nimble you feel like you are. And you're like, oh, I don't have to do all this stuff. So let's talk about smaller companies. And then let's talk about bigger companies. What are the common mistakes for companies that sell to other businesses? What are the common mistakes that they often make?
I think the most common is truthfully not understanding who is in market at the right time, but ultimately not knowing who their buyers are. We want to put our products in front of everybody, even if we're small or large businesses. We want to get our name out there. And in the small world, we have to have confidence and commitment from our potential prospects. And when our name hasn't existed for a long time, it could just be putting money in an openless jar. On the large side, we do know the name, but ultimately there's a lot more players in play. Those enterprise businesses, competition does get pretty fickle because there's only so many players. And so the advertising or approach has to be incredibly prescriptive.
Oh my gosh, you have just turned everybody's intuition upside down, right? Because look, my journey with ABI is very similar, right? It's always like, oh, more is more. I want to be in front of everybody. I want everyone to meet me. I want to put my face out there, right? That's where intuition goes. But actually, I it's so true. You don't want to be everywhere because then you seem like a hoe, baby.
Yeah, well, it's what we did at ZoomInfo. We were very much, let's get our name everywhere.
Yeah.
Over the last, I would say, year and a half is when we made the pivot to be incredibly prescriptive and specific to who we're marketing to. While the sellers go sell on their side of the fence, we want to make sure that we're tackling it from both sides in that very prescriptive sales addressable market, not just here's your entire total addressable market.
I love it. We're on the same journey. We're just not as fast or as smart as you guys, but
I think
we're
everyone's
following
on
you.
the same journey today.
Well, I like to bring it up to people is that AI is affecting a lot of things. It's and I know some people might have a fear of it. They might have a love of it. They think it's going to replace one thing or other. I'm not on that bandwagon, but what I do see is that it is affecting how things happen, how fast things go, what comes out. And so for us as leaders, marketers, sellers, CEOs, you name it, it's important to, to look at how it's impacting our operations, our sales and marketing activities, and how we build relationships. So last week, if you joined me, what we spent some time was talking about is, what are the gaps in my lead generation? How come I'm not getting more results? And a big one is a lot of times people, what you just said, Eli, is everyone's just trying to sell. It's very narcissistic. Look at me. Look how great I am. Don't you want to buy my stuff? Right. And baby,
100%.
don't y'all know when you date women, you tell them how great they are, right? and people who have women-like tendencies, right? You'd be like, oh my gosh, you're so gorgeous and you're so sweet and I love you so much. And you just butter them all up. And then they're like, I love you and I'll do everything you want, right? And the same is true with your customers. It's got to be about them and less about
100%.
you.
We all have to be customer centric. I ultimately think that's one of the pitfalls that we fell on a couple of years ago is we were very focused on up, forward, logos. The more customer centric we can be, the more support we can be, the more strategic and aligned we can be with our customers' problems and pain points, the better we'll break that door open.
I love it. For me, my whole strategy is also, and I'd love for everyone who's watching us to think about this, our focus is to keep every customer. There are some companies and they predict churn. They plan on churn, right? Oh, this customer will stay with me for 2 years and then they're going to churn. And I'm sure there's math behind that thinking. But I'd say in this age of AI, our goal as providers of service is to keep every customer as happy as possible.
100%.
And you do that, right? You do that by learning as much as you can about them and using AI to see all the patterns and to respond, to be responsive, supportive, relevant, helpful, and nourishing. So, all right. So we talked about number one mistakes. Is that for both big and small? Are there any mistakes that small companies might make or that big companies might make that we should talk about?
So I think on the small side, we've answered kind of the largest pain that I see. In the big companies, I think another thing that we see is there are expansive budgets sometimes. And so they think
Hmm.
that throwing money at the wall and seeing what sticks is a great solution.
Oh my gosh.
But ultimately, it's just not the case anymore.
You're so right. You basically barbecuing your money.
Yes, you might get, great results on some of the ads. You might get good click
Hmm.
through rates. You might get some leads. You might get some clients.
Hmm.
But on the overarching piece of it, if you spent God knows how much money, there's going to be a lot of it that was used very inefficiently. And
Hmm.
ultimately, I think that incorporating AI into that motion can drive that efficiency that businesses want. I think that's
Absolutely.
the piece of AI that we all forget is AI is not here to replace us, but is to make us more efficient.
Right. Force multiplier. Absolutely.
Exactly.
So you just slid me right into home base for my second question, which is how is AI affecting ABM? And I wanted to dovetail what you were just talking about, that they spent more money. I actually have a couple of clients that are experiencing this, which is, we're not running those campaigns. Somebody else is. Yay. But what happens is a lot of clients, like you said, they have these expansive budgets and they're like, hey, let's spend another million or let's throw money at this because maybe we're just not getting our message out to enough people. But actually, if you dig into the analytics, what you'll see is that, and guys, if you're out there and you're doing this, a lot of times you get seduced by lookalikes. You're like, oh, you've got this great campaign and you've got this great ads and you had a really good conversion rate. So now let's let Facebook or LinkedIn or whoever, right, Meta, whoever it is, build your lookalike audience. Well, honey, when it comes to B2B, lookalikes are almost always broken from my experience. Not every time and not every platform. Less so for LinkedIn, more for like Instagram or, these consumer places where you might be getting reach at a lower cost. But the problem with lookalikes is that a business decision is highly complex that has nothing to do with the person. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And a lot of times your footprint in digital world doesn't really reflect your footprint in the business decision sphere, right? You
100%.
I mean, how many CEOs do we know out there roaming around in their flip-flops in the pajamas
Most of
at the
them.
Walmart at noon, right? You know what I mean? Some of us are doing that, right?
I wish
And
I was doing it.
right. And so it's so possible. And so that's what can become really confusing to some of these digital systems is they know a lot about you and they're snooping on everything you're doing, but they sometimes can have a real hard time of figuring out how you connect to a particular business. And then what's bigger is what that business needs. Because remember, people, I'm always here to nourish and educate and sometimes point out the obvious things that we forget is that businesses buy solutions that the business needs. And you can influence the buyer, the actual human that makes that decision, by buttering them up and educating them. Maybe you give them a little incentive or a treat. You took them to a party, you have Fat Keisha show up, right? Whatever you did, it's all good. But at the end of the day, the decision is typically for businesses. I'm not talking about government, but for businesses, it's usually about the business's requirements those things don't pop up in your digital footprint.
I agree with that. I would also argue that it's not just the requirements. I think it's the potential outcomes. I
Oh, I
think,
love it.
we at Zoom Info, we do a lot of selling every day. I think
Mhm.
ultimately the only way we as businesses capture new footprint is guaranteeing certain outcomes. Not that we can guarantee them 150%, but we need to be able to paint a picture, not just when we're speaking to people, but even when we're doing ABM and advertising. We need to,
Absolutely.
in that 20-second or 10-second banner ad or window or whatever it may be, we need to somehow paint that picture to drive that potential result in someone's mind. And that's the hardest part.
Absolutely. Yeah. Inspiration and aspiration, right? You show
Exactly.
them where they can go with what you're providing and you give them an easy path to get there.
And
Absolutely.
then you just
So
have
let's
to,
dig in.
yeah, well, I was going to say, you just have to have the ammunition to back yourself up.
Ding-a-ling, right? So let's dig in. AI, how is AI affecting everything? So I want you to give us a little, like a teeny little infomercial about ZoomInfo Stack. So we've been using ZoomInfo for many, many years. And about 3 years ago, we started using your really brand new Marketing OS suite. It was like this huge investment. Oh my gosh, I wanted to cry. But you know what? I look back and it was like the best decision I've ever made. It was a tough one. It was really an investment. But it has unlocked so much intelligence that I've never been able to gain access to before. And now, because I've leaned in as the leader of a growth agency, I'm leaning in onto the side of intelligence, right? And I'm going really deep. And where ABM really matters to me is empowered by ZoomInfo is I can actually see exactly where we're penetrating, where my clients are penetrating. I know exactly what their total available market is, like you mentioned, Eli. Who are all the accounts that could buy this? How am I penetrating them? Did they come to the website? What do they do? How do they engage on email? Am I seeing signals from other places? How is this? Are they searching? Are there intent signals? And there's really just so much richness there that it'll blow your mind. So talk to me about AI and give me an infomercial on ZoomInfo.
So I think you used a really important word there is signals. I think everyone that is here on the webinar or knows us from a past life is ZoomInfo was a data company. We've always been the leader in B2B data. Over the last few years, we've transitioned to being the leader in go-to-market sales intelligence. And with sales intelligence, we rely on the signals. With the incorporation of AI, we released ZoomInfo Copilot roughly 2 years ago, where we're positioning likely target accounts that are picked by the businesses with their sales signals in front of sellers for them to go sell against those businesses very prescriptively. What's coming here in roughly 10 days is a product called GTM Studios. Within GTM Studios, you get to build your audience not just with ZoomInfo. You get to build it with CRM, other data assets, potentially LinkedIn, other providers. If you get an audience from 6sense, DNB, whoever it may be, you'll be able to pipe it in as long as you're their client as well. Once it's there, you'll be able to ask our AI how you want to go to market against this data, what type of content needs to get created, and then it'll actually send it to both the marketing team and the sales team for them to go tackle. So
Wow.
that is my
This is called total world dominance. Oh my gosh, you guys are going to take over the whole world. Are you killing me? Thank you so much for sharing that. 11 days from now. That's freaking amazing.
We're excited.
I hope you're going to give me some free credit so I can check it out.
We'll try. That is not up to me, but I always want you on any pilot.
I love it. I appreciate it so much. So let's keep talking about AI in the ABM in the age of AI. So account-based marketing, you name a known universe, you define exactly who you want to market to. It's for companies that sell to businesses. There's really not a close equivalent on the B2C side, but there are people who are talking about B2B2C. And so we can talk a little bit about that. There are equivalents on the consumer side, which is where you have circles of influence, busty women with red hair, people who like chocolate chips, whatever. There's really targeted lifestyle segments that
red.
you can. I get it. Right. But you can go really, you can get really specific on the consumer side, and social media is awesome for that. You connect to groups and circles of interest and keywords and stuff. And so that's awesome. ABM is the equivalent on the business side, which is who are these accounts? It takes a lot of intelligence. And I love that you talked about signals, because that's the thing these days, guys. So if you haven't been drinking the Kool-Aid about signals, well, now is the time to do it, right? So that's your stretch goal for the rest of 25 and the beginning of 26 is there are intent signals, there are behavioral signals, there are technographic signals, there are, action signals that they visit something. What did they do? Did you see them somewhere?
Did they get
There's a lot of
and
different
do they
stuff.
now have budget to buy something? That is a big
Oh,
one.
I love it. There's scoops. Yeah, there's so many signals.
Our executive moves, when we have a champion leave a business and go to another, that's probably our favorite sales signal.
Interesting.
One of the easiest things to tackle. We've already delivered this business case to a business. We have the decision maker. He's already agreed to us once. Why wouldn't
So
he?
let's go over here. Oh my gosh, you're so true, right? And when you're in a bigger company, of course, that kind of signal coming from a system is so helpful because, you can't keep track of everybody that closely. But
Uh,
even if you're in a small company, sometimes your key buddies move and you didn't know.
I recently was speaking with a seller from one of my accounts, and they're a sales training company. And the gentleman on the other side explained to me that he has a list of every single person he has trained for the last 10 years. It's over 1,200
Wow.
people.
Wow.
Anytime they're in a new role or place of work, he will
Mhm.
text or call them right away.
I
And
love
they're
it.
typically the quickest sales cycles. Now, that's not necessarily an ABM approach, but it's something we should all do as a business.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Eli, I think you and I are about to come up with something new, right? That's account-based marketing. It's people-based marketing, right? Contact-based marketing, CVM. Right? It sounds like a
Yeah,
missile, but isn't that a missile? A
it is a
CVM?
missile.
A ballistic. It's an ICBM.
There you
ICBM is
go.
what it is. Intercontinental ballistic missile. Okay. But
We don't
still,
need any of those
CVM
in
is
the
that.
tech space.
Right, right, right. But you know what? But actually, that example you just gave is so perfect. And that's actually how I do a lot of my own, account development is I know a lot of people, right? And I'm sure a lot of business owners are like me. You've got this network you've built over time and you really see them as individuals. You try to keep track of them, you stay connected to them. And so that let's talk about that what does that look like in the age of AI? Well, AI and tools like ZoomInfo can help you stay on top of that, right? It can plug in and integrate that data and give you a
Exactly.
signal to say, hey, reach out.
In ZoomInfo specifically, there's two ways to do it. Obviously, we have our scoops when businesses
Hmm.
announce that an executive is moving or joined the company. That's one way. We have
Hmm.
a feature called Tracker where you can upload a list of 5,000 people. We will tell
Hmm.
you when they change jobs or title for you to
I
read
love it.
in there. And
You know
ultimately,
what
with
we should do?
AI
Hmm.
pairing in LinkedIn products like ZoomInfo, if the AI is gathering that in the back end, we're going to get those signals a lot faster than we would if we just went on LinkedIn one day.
Absolutely. And with that less effort, right? And that's really what it's about, right? The
How
force
can we
multiplier.
direct the people instead of making them figure out who they have to hunt for next?
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Awesome. All right. So let's keep going. So if you're watching the live stream, thank you. We got about 7,000 people in our universe that we're streaming to right now. If you're in the executive webinar, you guys can ask questions at any time. Eli and I will try to answer them. If you're in the live stream, you can also ask questions, but we might not be as fast in responding to them. We will try to. And of course, always come to change3e.com to sign up for our events. And then that way you'll put you into the executive VIP webinar experience. After the live stream portion is over, that's when we're going to take a lot of Q&A. So if you have more questions, please feel free to save them up for the end, but you can ask them at any time. So we're wrapping up. We're talking about ABI, how it's evolving in the age of AI. And I want to get into the meat of it. So for me, from an account-based marketing perspective, I see a lot of clients and they've got maybe 4 or 5 salespeople. Each salesperson might have 100 to maybe 600 accounts. Sometimes it's in geo, sometimes it's in industry. And so they really try to create programs to enable that salesperson to penetrate those accounts. And what I find and our approach to it is we do a lot of what I call nourishing enablement. A lot of really successful salespeople are a little bit older. So I like to refer to them as legacy. They're not web native. And so they need some training, but they're very trainable. They might not be happy about the training, but they will get trained. Tools are AI tools in particular, especially tools like ZoomInfo, which is really well integrated. It's so helpful. Is that these salespeople now have a stack of intelligence that's easy for them to access, and that's like the secret right now.
Yep.
So they got their 500 accounts. They can see what's happening. They can configure that. Now, here's my tip for you guys. If you got those sales folks and you're going on this journey and maybe you decide to invest in a ZoomInfo or anything like it, please don't expect your salespeople to configure all this kind of stuff. That really should come through marketing. right? You define your audiences, you get executive buy-in, what they are and how it's distributed and what's your strategy. And then marketing would have a whole approach to get all that configured for each salesperson.
Exactly.
Right?
What we have is what we call it air cover. If me as a strategic account manager, I have a book of business, I work diligently through any 12-month window or 6-month window, whatever it may be. Typically, our marketing team is working on the other side of the fence to send ads across to those businesses so that whatever I speak about is top of mind. And this way, we're really not just multi-threading, but a very two-pronged approach into these businesses.
Absolutely. It's very personal too when you think about it, right? Because ads are impersonal and not human. Those people are hyper personal in your face, right?
And
so you do both things together, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
Well, there's that, and let's talk about AI and personalization, right? Mm-hmm. AI is only as personable as we can make it. There ideally is a human in the loop critiquing the AI and double checking in a sound not personable over here, very personable over here, and the person or the business on the other side is not really going to trust us.
Correct. Well, I always like to describe AI as it feels non-human. I think that's how I'll describe it. And you know what it is? Our brains are wired so well that in 2 seconds you can tell what's AI generated.
For now.
Even if it's good, right? For now. Right. Well, here's my hypothesis, and I would love everybody to argue with me about it. I think it'll be that way forever. It'll be harder, but I think as AI becomes more sophisticated, humans will be trained of what is AI generated. Does that make sense?
I would tend to agree. I have seen content both on social media or even on TV that is AI generated that I cannot determine.
It's so good. Wow.
It's very good. Now, that's imagery. So that is a different way of thinking for us, in my opinion.
Sure.
We're talking about written language and an email or some sort of text, because it has to be very correct. Sure. Whereas an image is an image.
Sure. I think, well, let me because you make a great point, but let me copy out what I was saying is that when humans get really involved and very intentional of how they use the AI to communicate and to realize their vision, fantastic results. But when it's like, you generate a prompt and like AI go wild, right? You can tell, right? Yes. You know what I mean? Like the ASMR mukbangs that are AI generating, they're eating glass and stuff. I mean, it's cool, but you're like, that's not real, like you can see that in 1 microsecond.
Exactly. But that's because we have logic that we're using to realize that's not real. If that AI is eating a piece of cake, we're not going to know.
You're so right. No, you're totally right. Absolutely. But see, that's the thing with AI. If you let it, how can I say this? I was having a conversation with somebody about this morning, and I said, AI to me, and I'm not web native, you guys. I'm legacy. I know y'all wouldn't think of it because I'm only I look 13, but I'm really a lot older than that. but I was having a conversation with someone, and so I might be still skeptic. But I'm on the AI, train. I'm doing a lot. I'm making investments and stuff. But my whole position is AI is like a really the dumbest smart person you ever met, right? It's like a genius that's like Rayman. That's how I would describe AI, right? AI is like a super savant that's really great at crunching numbers and seeing patterns and doing repetitive data related tasks, but it has no wisdom, no insight.
Have you asked ChatGPT to make fun of you in the past?
I haven't. I'm going to try
it. It does not have humor. There's certain human aspects that I don't think we can teach computers just yet.
Well, I did do something. No, please, please make your point.
I was going to say, I think you said something really interesting of like the AI train. I think if you look at ZoomInfo, even if you take Microsoft and Gemini, none of these businesses, we have not called this AI a train. It is truthfully a co-pilot. We don't want to steer it. We want it to help us.
You're right. You're totally right. Thank you for that. But I was saying, and you brought up a great point that and I didn't think about that. And thank you so much for filling this gap. Because to me, I look at AI and it's smart, but it's not smart at the same time.
Yep.
And a 5-year-old has actually got more computational logic than a whole $1 trillion AI system. But a 5-year-old doesn't have access to all the information, right? All that data, then they probably could spit out the stuff that AI is spitting out to us today, right? And it would seem super smart.
I said it to somebody earlier this morning. In 5 years, you're going to have a course in college about prompting AI, because that's going to be the most important.
Oh my God, it's called prompt engineering.
How well can we give it direction, and how much confidence can we give it with all the assets that we get? How can we trust it?
Absolutely. And it's a two-way street. For marketers in particular, a few things. First of all, AI is incredible to empower you. I'd say marketing was probably one of the first skill sets or professions that AI has really affected. Some people could say it's irrelevant. It doesn't, but it definitely really hyper unfold. One person could produce, really relevant content, marketing campaigns, emails, everything using AI tools, but you have to know how to do it. So definitely that's a lean in. And when you can plug into a hyper intelligent data platform like a ZoomInfo, then it's like, oh my gosh, it'll blow your mind, right?
Well, you said something incredibly important: data. So I don't know if you've ever asked ChatGPT what year it gets its data from. But if you're
a couple of years ago,
back, a lot of stuff happens in 400 days. A lot of data happens in 400 days, let alone one day. Yeah. That's where ZoomInfo is really kind of taking this cornerstone in the market, as a lot of businesses are trying to build AI products or build AI processes within their systems. And AI can only be as good as the data it ingests.
Yep, you're so right. Absolutely.
So,
and that's why you guys have that great API suite, because that's where we are. We've deployed the API. We get those where we can layer in data from you, data from other sources. It's standardized, and then we get this like really rich tapestry of insight about our universe of accounts, or you know what I mean? And it gives us a lot of what I consider wisdom,
I view it as the best way to start modeling. If we can build out an AI logic in a data lake or a data warehouse, or even in a specific UI, it's the best way to be efficient going to market, because it'll model for us and all we have to do is action.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, so our last portion, we're about a little bit 3/4 in, and we talked about common mistakes. We talked about what is AI doing, what's that tool set. I'll finish the tool set up. It's if you aren't using, I'm sure you guys are using AI tools, right? Like Jasper.ai, or you're using ZoomInfo or 6sense or Microsoft 365 Copilot, or whatever you're using something. What else you've got, like Eli mentioned, a real fully mapped out strategy, a very strategic approach of how you're going to integrate sales and marketing, how you're going to identify those right accounts, the propensity. He mentioned modeling, which companies are most likely to do business with you. That requires fresh, accurate data, and that requires you to think about how you weave it all together in an intelligence tapestry.
Yep. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We use it's an internal tool here at ZoomInfo, where we've tied multiple AI sources together with our CRM, our product, our call recording studio, all of these different deck. It'll do it. If it needs to be in relation to business specific pain points and spend and location, it'll do it, as long as you feed it the right pieces or tools.
I love it. Oh my gosh, there's so many of these great use cases. So I'm going to see that on market next year.
I don't know if it's ever something we're going to sell.
That's
something we use
sauce.
To make us efficient, right? I think that every business is striving for some sort of efficiency, and ultimately AI is, I'm going to say, the fastest way to get there. I'm sure there's other ways to be just as efficient, but AI is really saving us a lot of time.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter how small you are, there's entry points that you can leverage that kind of intelligence into your sales, marketing, your operations, your growth. And so that's the thing. My job is to help you grow happily. So the first way to do it is for you as the leader to get these skills, to gain access to this perspective and to start thinking about it. Because once you dream it, then you can think about how to
dream it. You got to do it.
All right. So ding-a-ling, right? So last part is, okay, well, what does it look like? What does ABM look like, going forward in the next, let's say 2-3 years? Now we've got all these different social networks. People spend more time in the, social media contacts. We've got all these cool digital platforms. What does it look like for a big company?
I think ultimately give you one place to do something and you can push it to many. I think about ZoomInfo marketing as a great example. You can take an audience based on signals in the platform and you can push it to LinkedIn, you could push it to Meta, you could push it to Google Ads, and we have our own DSP.
Yep.
That's 4 different places that you can push the same audience with 4 different clicks once you build the audience.
Oh my gosh.
Ultimately, I think the next path forward is
I love it. I want to double click on that because you spit that out like, oh, that's no big deal. This is huge, people. Like, I'm gonna double click on it because you might think you're doing this now, and I'm telling you, you're not. You might be thinking, oh, I'm running email campaigns and I've got Google ads and I'm doing ads on LinkedIn and I'm doing Facebook ads and Instagram ads and TikTok and YouTube or whatever, right? And I've got my whole targeting strategy. I've uploaded a list. I built lookalikes, whatever. I've got a retargeting audience. All that's nice and good. But here's what's different. When you build an audience on each platform, that audience is an independent, unique silo. When you build an audience in a platform like Marketing OS from ZoomInfo, that is an integrated, known quantity.
Yes.
So, right? That's the difference. So if you say, hey, I'm going to do email to these 100,000 right party contacts, and I'm going to push that out, a display ad to those 100,000 right party contacts, and I'm going to do a messaging ad on LinkedIn to those 100,000, and I'm going to do a single image ad and a carousel.
So
right?
Static.
Same, right?
Because the list doesn't get bigger, no one getting added to it based on additional signals that might come in after you start the display or start the campaign.
Ding-a-ling. Oh my gosh. That is huge, people, because if you're running ads across the board and you don't have that point of integration to say, this is my audience, and it transfers across all of them, you don't know if the people who are seeing your ads on LinkedIn are the people who are opening your email, and if those are the people who see it on Facebook, and if they see your YouTube commercial. And you might think, oh, that doesn't matter. There's overlap. Well, 100,000 is a small audience, but it might be the 10,000 I saw on YouTube aren't the 10,000 I saw on LinkedIn. And here's what we all know, and I would love for you guys to tell me what you think about it, but this is what I see in what we do. It's just harder to reach people these days. Ever since the pandemic, you've got to be so much more persistent, so much more relevant, so much more nice and interesting and compelling and repetitive, right? Yes. You got to be out there.
I would argue that pre-pandemic, we were all forced to go into an office. There was the select few, I would say my mother, who worked from her home office since I was a little kid. I didn't know how she pulled that one off, and she was very lucky, but now we all.
Right.
Ultimately, with the sitting at home, we might think we're less productive, but we have a lot more meetings. We have a lot less lag time of getting to an office or going into lunch and doing these things. And so when it comes to reaching us on our cell phones, half of us likely just don't want to pick up. But most of us are in front of a computer every single day, at least in this industry. And that's where ABM really comes into play. Is I don't know how many tabs I have open, probably over 100 on my computer today. Probably all of us do. And I'm sure there's ads on 50 of those. Yeah. Am I able to look at all of them at the same time? No, but I definitely will see 1, 2, or 3. And so how do we get that priority.
I love it. You just explained it. See, I had a little extra layer in there. Is that people are more fluid, right? I couldn't agree with you more, Eli, but people are more fluid. They sometimes work in the office, sometimes work at home. They work wherever they want to now because what the lockdown showed us is, hey, I can work anywhere. I can be in the star PJs, right? And people are doing it. People are like, oh, I'm going to prioritize my work-life balance. I'm going to go to the gym at 10 a.m. I'm going to work until 10 p.m., right, to make up for it. And so people are just so much more fluid. I see that people answer the phone later. I see that they're interacting with our systems for conversions in the middle of the night, early in the morning. And it's because people are crafting what is their ideal work life balance look like. And so it's just different, and it's different for everyone.
I think
and that makes it so harder to reach.
A great point. I would also argue that certain titles are more responsive at certain CEOs that I work with. I don't typically get responses from them during the day. They're in meetings all day.
No, because they're meetings back to back, but they might respond to you just before dinner, right after the meetings are over, and they're chilling or whatever, and they're like, oh, let me check email, right? They might respond to you early, crack of dawn, early in the morning before they get into the
data people. I get emails from them at 2 a.m. typically. I don't know what they're doing up at those hours, but it's always 2 a.m.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it brings up a great point of if we can capture the time of response in our approach, or the most likely time of response, or most likely time that a certain specific title clicks an ad, we can be that much more prescriptive in our ABM approach.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, I think that is the direction we're all taking, is that very prescriptive, let's be doctors and let's be surgical when it comes to ABM as possible.
So true. That's our journey. I want to double click on a couple of things in this discussion because guys, I don't want you to miss what we're talking about right now. So it is harder to reach everyone. It doesn't matter what your account-based universe is or your persona targeting is. Everyone, whether you're maybe not the janitor, he was always, or she, they were always hard to reach, right? But everybody's just harder. The salesperson, the operations person, everybody's harder to reach because people have more fluid work environments. You need to be more persistent. You've got to be in more places, and you're probably taking steps to be there. You're doing social media advertising. You're doing your Google ads, your display ads. You're doing email marketing. Maybe you're doing Postal's making a comeback. You might be doing a lot of different things. But here's what I want to challenge you guys all. If you aren't using some kind of a data platform like ZoomInfo or whatever one the stanky old thing you want to use, right? We use 5. We have 5 data platforms. ZoomInfo, and all full disclosures, ZoomInfo is our primary. And it's not because these fools have run us through the clothes, but we love them, okay? And the reason why they're primary is because they've earned the spot, because they really do have the best tools. I've tried in my 30 years. I know you don't believe that I've worked that long, but I am that old. And all that time, I've used everything. I've used just about everything. And this stack is really, from my perspective, the best. And what I love about them is they have their CEO must be great. He's probably not a nice person.
Henry's amazing. Probably super
smart. He's pretty awesome, right? Really great team. Eli's awesome. But I'm not trying to just blow air up these guys' butts, but I'm telling it to you guys is that what I learned from them, and I learn from them every time I deal with them, is they're really thinking about the future. And some of the other vendors that I deal with, they're worrying about the past of where they used to be. Some that might have an acronym as their name, maybe they were really, really good 10 or 20 years ago. But the future is like what we've been talking about, signals. And remember, we talked about your target audience, their behavior is different. They're harder to reach. You have to be more relevant. You've got to be more persistent. And so if you're running campaigns in a lot of different places, but you don't have a uniform audience that you can track across all those places, you might not be getting through. They might not see your ad, right? They might not open your email. And so you've got to actually think about an integrated data environment so you can reach a fixed quantity, a known universe of potential targets.
Yeah, and I would argue, regardless if it's us, our competitors, if I would vote for go work with Change3, right? We partner
Yay!
with them. We partner with agencies as a whole because we understand that businesses don't always know who they're supposed to sell to. That's the expertise of any market lead, not only to build your total addressable market and sales addressable market, but really drill down into who's the ICP within those businesses so that we can make sure we're using our dollars appropriately and not just throwing it at the wall.
Absolutely. More is not more and more people. And unless you're really huge brand, like putting your content out there and look, I'm gonna be full transparency, and other people might not do this, but I've tried a lot of different stuff and some of it really sucked, right? I didn't mean for it to suck, right? But some of it you realize like that didn't work at all. And you don't meet people by, I'm gonna tell a story, and this is what I always do. When I lived in Boston, there was this who had some his brain worked in a very unique way, and so he had a 3-wheeled bike, and he would ride his bike, and because he wasn't comfortable riding the bike lane, he would ride on the sidewalk, and so he'd make a really loud sound as he would ride his bike. And he would do that as he rode his bike, and so it got a lot of attention. But when he would talk to people, he would make 100 pieces of paper with his name and phone number on it, and he would go talk to people. Hey, call me on Wednesday. He'd go, hi, call me on Wednesday, and that was his. He was. I think back then they just called people special, right? So I'll just say that he was a really special person, the sweetest person I ever met. But my point is that individual, people laughed about it. It was very memorable. But the fact that he would hand out his phone number, his name and phone number to anybody who would talk to him, times it was usually it wasn't serious. But I tell you that story because that's kind of what we do today, right?
That's what we do. We miss every opportunity.
We're out there,
and that is taking 100 opportunities.
Yeah, boop, boop, right. Here's my number. Call me, right? And that's the truth, right? And you know what? Because one person might call you, so then you feel like, okay,
exactly,
that worked. But right? And here's where I'm changing course myself, and I would love you guys' thoughts, and I would challenge you guys to think about this. Is it better to be out there and look how great I am, or would it be better to take that energy and to put something out there where people are like, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, I'm going to take that masterclass. Oh, wait, let me join that webinar. That's a good, interesting statistic. And they discover you because you're giving them something that they can use. It's not content marketing like back in the day, but it's like the next level of content marketing based on signals, right? Based on what you've learned about your target audience. That's a known universe that's going to serve up.
Exactly. If you can make someone think with something you position in front of them, half the battle's already done.
Ding-a-ling. All right, guys. Well, look, we could talk about this probably for 20, 30 years. If anybody in the webinar has a question or a chat, this is the time we're going to do it. For everyone who's on the live stream, as always, thank you so much. I know your time is your most valuable possession. Thank you so much for sharing it with me and Eli today. And thank you for sharing it every time. Next month, we're going to be talking about why you need I hope I'm doing the right one. Why you need a business attorney before you need one.
I don't want to get involved in that one.
Baby, trust me, there's so many reasons why, but not the negative side. It's more than the negative side when you think I got sued or I'm not in compliance with the law, or maybe I did an ADA, Americans with Disability Acts violation, sexual harassment. There's so many bad reasons why you might want an attorney and learn. But there's 1,000 good reasons. Attorneys are really knowledgeable business professionals, and they can advise you on how do you make your contracts better? How do you create better work orders? What things should your salespeople be aware of? How do you ensure your marketing is in legal compliance? I mean, there's so much stuff. There's a lot of stuff around privacy, tracking, all this sort of stuff that a lawyer would be helpful to guide you and advise you on how you handle. And so having a business attorney is actually a smart move right now, people. I know they always want money. They're like, oh, you just have to give me a small little retainer. of $14 billion. It's probably going to be like 1,000 or 2,000, maybe 3 or 4,000, depending on who. We're going to talk with an award-winning leading attorney, happens to be my girlfriend and my attorney for many, many years. Really an incredible legal mind. She's going to talk to you about her approach, how she supports people. And what I'm going to talk to you about is how do you pick a really good attorney for your business before you need one. And it's really a strategic decision, guys. If you meet them when you don't have no issues and you don't need anything, then they'll be like, yeah, I'll work with you for like $1,000 or whatever, right? You give them a really small retainer and they're like, sure. And you meet with them every now and then, once a quarter, once a year, something like that. And it's a low cost investment. If you're getting sued, or, the CEO was groping on the intern or whatever, oh my gosh, that is not the time to get an attorney, because they're going to be like, oh yeah, you need to pay me at least $100,000. I'm not even going to take this.
If the problem is now, they're going to ask for the money, just like we do in the sales.
Front, right. No, they're going to be like, there's no way I'm even going to entertain talking to you without a huge retainer. And then you have to pay my fee. So it's really a financial move, people. It's not just a strategic play where it'll educate you, enable you, and activate you so you're more in compliance and you're less likely to have those issues. But if you get an attorney now, before you need one, it'll just cost you way less. So there you go. Eli, dear, can you stick around in case we have any questions from our group?
Of course, I'd also like to back that up with, I am not the CEO of ZoomInfo, but I do own my own business within ZoomInfo, and I work with our legal counsel on a weekly. And so having a business attorney is probably really important, because although it's not a business attorney, I need them.
Oh my gosh, right. Because look, the world is becoming more spicy, right? There's so many compliance hurdles and things that you have to be aware of. And it's just helpful. It builds so much confidence.
Especially when we're talking about data.
Have an attorney. Yeah, right. They're subject matter experts. And it doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. I mean, obviously a data business, a lot of legal compliance around the world, but it doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. Having an attorney provide you with some guidance is important. In December, we're going to talk about CPA. I got me a full bona fide IRS auditor, and he's really handsome too. I'm really going to get some fine men to join me on my podcast conversations. So there you go. Another one, because Eli, my handsome guy here, I got another hand. He's 6'4", dark like a black cup of coffee. Oh my gosh. So if you don't join, baby, please join me in December. So register on our website, change3e.com. Last thing is, always remember, you're worthy. You're amazing. You're important. And the directions that you want to go in are absolutely right for you. Just figure out who your dream team is and what's your right stack, and just take your time. You'll get wherever you want to get to, one step at a time. Don't let anybody rush you. Don't let anybody tell you that you're anything other than awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on Growing Happily. I'm going to stick around. Eli and I are going to stick around for about 10 or 15 minutes for anybody in our executive webinar that wants to ask questions. But everybody on the live stream, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'll see you guys in November. We're going to end the live stream piece. We're going to drop off of all of our live streams, stream operator, and keep us in the webinar. And then we're going to answer any questions from anybody in the chat. So if you're in the webinar and you have a question about ABM, please post it right now. I'm going to ask a question for our ABM, our executive webinar group right now for Eli. And that question is, what's the right size of your account-based universe? Let's say, I mean, I know it really varies by industry, but what's a good size? Is there too small? Is there too big?
I mean, too big, likely, yes. Not every single business that is out there is in market to purchase your tools this week or this month or even this year. Too small, when we're talking about being prescriptive, I would say too small is not a bad thing, but we might just not derive the results. Everything is a percentage. If we're sending to 100 accounts, we're really only going to have so many opportunities. And so I'd say too small is
one or two,
maybe not good, but it's not bad. Too large, I would say we're wasting money.
Sure. So what's that sweet spot? What's the right size? For a mid-sized company, less than $100 million, and they sell business solutions, what's a good size?
I think a good audience is anywhere between 5,000 accounts and, up to 100,000 accounts. It really depends on the industry you're in.
I love it.
In
Okay.
the tech space,
Mhm.
there's a lot of companies in the tech space. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
you can market to
Sure.
a plethora of them at once. I think in, healthcare and hospitals and stuff like that, there's less businesses across the globe. And so there might just ultimately be less businesses that you want to target. Marketing, I think marketing is great, but marketing at the right time is better. And the right time will be derived based on the signals, hopefully.
That takes me to my next one. You must be, me and you must have a mind sync or something. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it takes me to my next question, which is, how often do you update your account-based universe? So let's say you got 5,000 accounts. How often do you rotate it?
Anywhere between 3 and 6 months. I would
Once
say
a quarter is what I was thinking. Yeah.
you want it to run for a period of time. You don't want it for a week, because then you don't give enough people time to log on to their social media or whatever website that you're streaming the ads on, or even in their email. I look at my personal email once a week. So on that consumer side, good luck selling to me.
I don't look at it ever. So good.
And then running it too long is also
become noise.
Just keep getting these ads in front of people. But ultimately, after 3, maybe 4 or 5 months is when we want to at least change the display, change the messaging, change the narrative.
Sure.
So
how do you extract signals? I know how we do it. What do you, if you were advising us, what would you recommend in terms of, you've picked your 5,000 accounts, you've learned a lot about them using ZoomInfo, and you've tiered them, you got your segments, you created really smart, messaging, you've run your campaign for a quarter. So then what do you do? How do you determine who goes in, who moves to a different segment? What are some best practices?
So I know we at ZoomInfo have 3 different layers of intent, which are incredibly important to us. One is our first party intent, or what others have as a website tool. We know a business went to your web the next day, like that latest.
Absolutely, yeah.
Then we have, at least within our database, our scoops, which is public and private pieces of news, which if someone is publicizing something, we can trust them. On the other half, where we send out a bunch of surveys to businesses, we're asking a frontline employer, a high-level employee, to respond to some questions in return for a gift card. We can listen to it. I don't know how much we can trust it, because I'll fill out some answers.
Sure.
So that's one piece. And then there's third-party intent, which a lot of businesses use to understand when another business is doing research on the things that they can assist with. I think intent is one layer of it. I think one of my favorite, at least on the new business side of selling, is if business gets earnings. Gets funding. They had an earnings call with the public. That's great. They told us our goals, their goals, what their CEO wants done. But if a business gets Series A budget, and they're going to have to make money to return the money that was just invested into their business. And so they now have to go take risks. Those are know that I'm not wasting my time. I think you said something earlier about B2B to B2C. I once tried to partner with a B2C business, and one of the things I wanted from them was a credit score matrix. Does a business pay their bills, and do they pay their bills in a timely fashion? I think the businesses that pay their bills on time are the businesses we should prioritize, because we're not going into a hole. It's the same thing. And so I think that there's even things that we don't have in our database that are incredibly powerful to this world for us to make those correct, strategic,
last question, and then that'll be it for everybody. Do you keep marketing to your customers? So let's say you got your 5,000 accounts, you convert 50 of them, right? Decent. And now they're your customers. you segment them out and keep marketing to them, or do you put them on an embargo? Are they a suppression?
So it depends. I think it depends on, are we talking about an Amazon as a customer that has 10,000 in it as a
Good
customer?
question.
Ultimately, on the sales side of the house, if you have a customer, you don't want to try to sell to them again because it just doesn't look good. But if you're releasing new products and new, features and functionality, and we want to teach things to our clients or prospects, but stick on clients, we should be marketing to those clients. Like for us, we have GTM Studios that's about to go live. I'm sure we're marketing to every single one of my clients.
Yes, for sure. I love it. Eli, it's always such an educational experience and inspiring and delightful, joyful experience whenever I get the opportunity to interact with you. Thank you so much. And all your leaders at Zoom, you guys are superb. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Last words for the audience.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having Zoom Info. It's always a pleasure when we get on a call, whether it's a cell call, a Zoom call, or a webinar. You're the GOAT, as I like to say. And if anyone...
Thank you, my dear. Always love, joy, and happiness. You guys keep growing happily. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.